Yes, I think the tendency of the 21st century is the controllability of the wall. The walls now can be much more sophisticated than before. We can make a wall look like anything but do anything. We can really control its porosity and its density and its efficiency in ways that formerly they couldn't. Therefore, there's more onus upon us to say, well, since we can do, why are we doing the building like that? Because we can do it any way which, any which way. It would have responsive characteristics. It could be like somebody, it could come towards you. It could melt away. It would have a malleability and a mobility. We're always wanting the magic material that will come towards you and recede away from you and soften and harden. I'm very, very enthusiastic. And the things I'm not so enthusiastic about, the middle things I don't talk about. And occasionally I get very bitchy about things that really get up my nose, but it's because I find a lot of things interesting and amusing and positive, enough at least to keep me going, Although in architecture sometimes it gets difficult. I think there's a lot of very boring architecture around, and I cannot even get excited enough to be critical of them, Oh, I'm fascinated because I didn't really start producing buildings until relatively late, but had been drawing a long time. Okay, I'd worked on other people's buildings, but I've been very interested in the feedback. I think that there's so many things that you can get to know even as a sort of conceptual architect or as an ideas architect from seeing the effect of light and materiality and the presence of the object. The thing that you don't know until you've done a few buildings is the significance of objects that may not be primary objects in the scheme. So you can do a good organization or a concept of a roof or whatever it might be, but suddenly it's the amount of light trapped by a beam or the prominence of a radiator or a dark reveal of a wall where the light doesn't quite get to, things that even in a model you can't fully get, or the difference in tone between the quality of something that's done in plaster and something that's done in wood, even if they're both painted white, that kind of stuff. It's funny because even when I did the first proper building that I did, which is now some time ago, but still late, relatively late in one's career, I seemed to get the size right. The sizes seemed to come out as I thought they would. Height sometimes different, but the sort of that. If I said, well, that's enough room to put 20 people, it was. If that's the sort of good width for a door, it was. Or if that kind of thing seemed to come, but light quality, presence of object. And of course, I still think that architecture very much is a theatric thing. You proceed through a building, even a small building, in a certain way. You are in a certain mood and you go in a certain corner. It's a certain kind of light coming through the window. You do a certain kind of thing. That stuff, I think, is tricky and fascinating. Oh, probably building a town on the beach. I was fascinated by town planning as even a little young adolescent. And I would go down on the beach in one of the towns I lived in and make canals, not sand castles, but towns. Describe roads and canals and organizations. I think shelter. I don't mean necessarily a built structure, but I think breaking wind and I don't mean burping, but I mean holding the wind, sheltering, places you can go when it rains, places you can go when it's a gloomy day, places you can go with a lover, places you can go with a dog, places you can go with a walk, places you can go with a newspaper, places you can go with a hat, meaning that should also be responsive in the sense of offering opportunities. I don't think necessarily places have to be kind of formally designed in a particular way. I mean, there are different tastes of that, but I think to provide facility and backdrop for event, and that can be done very simply. It can be done as simply as how you make the wall, or where you put the trees, or whether you say you can walk on that bit and that bit's a rockery or a shrubbery or a monument or a pissoir or a bandstand or a place where you sell sushi. I'm fascinated by small buildings, so I'm fascinated by kiosks. I love kiosks. I collect pictures of kiosks. And Berlin's not bad for kiosks. Oh, that's an interesting question, because I think that we are I'm still discovering that. I mean, I've done one interior a year or two back, which was very, very white and very pure. Not shape pure, but pure in its materiality. Like in the little blue building that we did, the studio building, the exterior is steel, built like a ship, built in Germany, and then transported to England in pieces, like a ship, welded together and painted and so on. The interior is glass reinforced gypsum, prefabricated and then smoothed, and made as smooth as possible, as detail-less as possible, making sure that rather expensive detailing to get it so that it went right to the window, and the only colour you see from the interior, including the window, is white, and the curve goes to the window. And then the only colour you see on the outside is blue. So, and to get that, any such detailing is more tricky, more detailed, more expensive. But then you get this total thing, like a icing cake. Now that's odd coming from me, who is a sort of mechanistic, put-it-together person, but I have done that. And the next building for the same client we're doing is made of wood. And we will leave the wood as exposed wood, all wood. So there, one building is all white and finished and lined. The other one is wood, it's made of wood and you see the wood. But then we've done other buildings where, like other people, we've played between shuttered concrete and straight from the steel shutter to timber, ply. So it's two monochromes, but large surfaces of monochrome, then picking out small pieces in colour. Colour used only as a kind of punctuation, not as a surface. I haven't done enough buildings to have enough experience on that. I'm fascinated by it, I'm fascinated by the materiality of the interior, and I think I'm still a bit purist in that sense, that I quite like consistency. Although intellectually I would like jumble, but actually I like purity. Albeit that it might be a complex shape, but that the materiality, to compensate for the complex shape, the material is actually common. But then if you have a simple shape, maybe you have a complexity of materiality. I mean, I haven't done one like that, but you could. I'm very interested in the issue, because although I'm somebody who's known for teaching and theorizing and writing and drawing and so on, actually when push comes to shove, I'm conscious of sitting on a seat here which is using artificial timber. From a distance it looks like timber, but then you see the edge as you walk down, it's not really timber. The edge is wrong. And as soon as I know that, I have less respect for it. Now that's an old-fashioned instinct. If it was timber, I would want it to have a slightly furry edge, and I would respect it as being authentic, so that although I like complexity, I'm aware by my training or by my instinct of working, working materials, that authenticity is also a factor.